Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. We back. We are back. And you know what my favorite part of the fact that we are
Back?
Well, no, now you kind of ruined it because now it's not that.
Shoot.
The fact that we're almost back to the season, I get to stop driving these shows.
Yeah, that'll happen once we get back into the season.
Right.
That was our little
That was our deal.
is this off season is going to be driven by Jesse. I like it. It's been fun.
Yeah, I think these have been fun shows.
Yeah, I feel like it allows me to kind of come out of my shell a little bit more, right? And not be so regimented into because I'm very much like, nope, we're sticking to my rundown. Once you start deviating from my rundown, I bring it back into the rundown.
Get in trouble,
Yeah. So no, I've enjoyed showing a little bit of my personality for better or for worse this summer.
I love your personality.
Not everybody does though.
They all should.
Does. Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's been on display, and I think there's a lot of people now that love your personality a lot more than they did.
Well, I hope that's true.
So you're just a great all-around guy.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to tell everybody that for years now.
We had a little bit of news today, a little bit of breaking news. It's more of an Eagles bit of breaking news, so we'll talk about that. I'd love to get your thoughts. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the week, but I'd love to get your thoughts on how the Avs decor is sitting right now. Awfully crowded.
I have some thoughts, so I'm excited to share those.
Perfect. And then I want to kick things off talking about the fact that there's some big Lonzo Ball news, which we all know is directly tied straight to Gabe Landeskog and how his recovery process is going. But JJ, I wanted to start with how you're doing. It's been a week since you and I have been in the studio together. I know this is your busy season in the real estate world. So just how you doing?
Yeah,
things?
I'm good. Watching interest rates trickle down, which is nice. And they're supposed to keep trickling down. So should bring a little bit more normalcy to my livelihood. But yeah, I won't bore you guys with that. Just hang around, doing real estate deals, being a father.
Yep. How is the little one?
He's good. He's almost a year and a half. He'll be a year and a half in 8 days now.
That's crazy.
No, less. What's today? The 9th? 6 days.
All right.
So yeah, a year and a half is nuts. It's a really cute age. He's really fun, but he just breaks everything. I've already had to replace 2 doors in my house because
he BK.
He's just reckless, and I guess that's what you get with a little boy, right? For instance, one of our doors that leads to the balcony, the back patio, he headbutted it in anger because we wouldn't let him outside.
That's hilarious.
And broke it.
All right.
Shattering glass with a headbutt. He wasn't even phased. He's like, oh, whoa, that was cool.
He's like, clean this up. That is crazy. A year and a half, dude. It seems like just yesterday that you were like, fuck, I can't believe this. I'm going to have a kid and I'm all my time.
Yeah.
And now look at that year and a
now
half.
I'm like, fuck. Oh, my time.
I got to get home. Yeah. That's it. That's so true. I was trying to make it wholesome and the opposite. Yeah, no, that's great. Well, like I said, I'm glad to have you back in here. We're barreling towards the season, dude. We've got about 5.5, 6-ish weeks till camp opens.
Yeah, I think I don't know what it is exactly I follow, but they're always posting a picture of a player's number, right? I think today was Curtis McDermott in an Avs jersey. So 56 days till
season starts.
Till the season starts. Luckily for us, it starts a couple weeks earlier than that. So yeah, we're right around the corner from it here, trying to get these last little bits of off-season shows going through here.
Well, and August is the month, man. Like this is the month where, like, these are the dog days of the off season. We're so far removed from draft and free agency that, like, yeah, there's no residuals coming off of that. No waves still that we're dealing with. And yet we're far enough away from the start of the season that, like, we're truly in off-season purgatory. But we're getting there.
Yeah, no, these are the times we kind of have to embrace, and because, soon enough we'll be in the thick of it and be like, oh no,
yeah,
we got a lot. Like, except December, I was diving into the schedule the other day. It's kind of pleasant as far as home.
Dude, the schedule this year is for the Avs. This has to be the most favorable schedule they've had in half a decade.
Yeah.
Like the road trips are reasonable. They're bunched together nice. There's no real like super long extended home or road stands. Like,
in December, historically, I feel like is very home heavy for the Avalanche, and that's right around the time I experienced my first burnout of the season. Right, you've been with me long enough, and you can definitely ask Arif Dean. Right around December is where I'm like, this is so hard. The sun goes down at 4:00, and we're there at Ball Arena till midnight, and it's cold and windy when you walk. Yeah, so it seems like
walking out is actually
walking out. Yeah,
walking out. Is the worst.
So that's going to be a light December, which is nice. And then with it's not the All-Star break this year, right? It's going to be the Four Nations break.
Yes. Yep.
That's going to be a light month of February for the Avs at home. So I'm excited to navigate this season together.
Me too. And you and I now have 1 year officially under our belts of covering the team together after several years of covering them together but separately.
Parallel.
Yes, we're now intertwined.
When was our start date? When did we start this?
Last
year?
September.
Oh, so we're not there yet. We're almost
no, but I mean, like, we have one season. I should have said we have one season under our belt together. And so I think you and I are going to make a great tandem again. And so that's super exciting. And I'm looking forward to it. But
I agree.
Love it. See, we just agree. We're great friends.
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball cleared for 5-on-5 full contact scrimmages. And through the first few days, the reports are no setbacks. Obviously, full contact for basketball is very different than full contact for hockey. But the rule of thumb this whole time, JJ, has been track Lonzo Ball, subtract 3 months, and that's about where Gabe Landeskog's at.
Yeah, you might have saw me on my phone while you were bringing us in, and it was because I was watching some video of Lonzo Ball right now, and yeah, he looks good. I think it's probably harder on the knees to play basketball than it is hockey, right? I think hockey's probably less
reasonable.
Yeah, and you're a lot more stops and starts in
it's less impact, I feel like.
For sure, and the jumping and what have you. And he looks good. He looks like he's going 100%. Lonzo Ball does. I don't know much about him or follow that very much, but it looks
in terms of like how he looked before.
Yeah, exactly. It looks to me like he's looking pretty close to 100%.
Well, and this surgery, my understanding is it's this motion that you're trying to get back. Like, that's what the 18-month rehab is. It's to get, this motion. Lonzo Ball put out that video of him, standing up off of one leg to prove that he's got the mobility and stuff. And again, to your point, not that you're not constantly churning your legs and stopping and stuff, but jumping and planting in the way that basketball players play. I imagine it's, hey, if his knee is holding up through again the mechanical work, not necessarily we'll see the first time Gabe gets tied up with someone or bodies kind of go different directions, but
yeah, this isn't exactly a motion that's too frequent in hockey, right? It's more outside pushing. Yeah,
and so again, like the fact that, like you said, that Lonzo Ball to your eye was like, yeah, he looks good. He looks like he's pushing it 100%. And unless there are setbacks that we don't know about that have taken place with Gabe this summer, that's got to be the most encouraging development we've had since the surgery, right?
Yeah. It makes me think a lot of Jack Eichel, right? When he was going into that neck surgery, back surgery, whatever it was that he had, and everybody was like, oh, this is unprecedented. Nobody's returned from this and blah, blah, blah. And then he came back and was just fine, won a Stanley Cup, and everybody's like, oh, turns out we were wrong. Yeah. I think the advancements in the medical field nowadays can give us a little bit more optimism, because that was kind of the conversation going into these surgeries with Lonzo Ball and Gabe Landeskog. It's like, oh, nobody's come back from this, or this is a new surgery, something of that. I don't really remember.
No one had ever come back to play pro sports.
Right. And you see it happening left and right with these guys now. Patrick Kane, I think that was a pretty vigorous surgery that he went through, came back and looks pretty good. Obviously is valued by the Detroit Red Wings there enough to re-sign him.
Were you surprised by that from Kane's perspective? As a quick little side note,
so a little more background into myself. I have a torn labrum in my hip, and in order to fix that, they would have to give me the same surgery as Patrick Kane, which was a hip resurfacing, which is where they take the hip bone and they shave it down. And the doctors are like, because I was like, is it possible for you just to fix the labrum without shaving my hip bones down? And they were like, no, because if we do that, your hip bones are just going to make it tear more or
God
again.
Damn.
Right. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to live the rest of my life with a torn labrum. I'm good on that. So the intensity of Patrick Kane's surgery was very high. A lot. Like, think about that. Someone just shaving down his hip bone so it can fit better into his hip socket. So yeah, I was surprised because that's an intense freaking surgery, and now he looks to be back to himself.
I guess I mean, are you surprised that after missing the playoffs, he would re-sign there? Like, I thought his whole thing was like, I want to go to a contender.
Yeah,
they're still trying to like get back into the dance.
Yeah. I think there's some positive trajectory if you look at the Detroit Red Wings, and I think they're headed the right direction. And so maybe he bought into that a little bit, right? It's just like, I guess I'm tired of jumping around.
It's a deadline flip if you want.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And that was supposed to be the case last year too, right? And they hung on to him. So, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to fully derail us, but yeah, Lonzo Ball being able to get back, you were saying, looking at the surgery from Patrick Kane, like medical advancements are taking such big strides that I feel like you can't just blanket it anymore. Like, this player won't come back.
Right. I think now you got to have your money on the player coming back nowadays, because the medical advancements are there. The way athletes just work now, right? They put in a ton of effort and a ton of care into achieving success and getting their body right. So I think, that we need to start putting the odds in the player's favor from now on and not be so pessimistic. Sure, it sucks that surgeries happen and injuries are always going to be a thing. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of players that acquire injuries that they can't come back from.
Right.
But, with guys like Gabe Landeskog, Lonzo Ball, they really want it. They really want to be there.
And they're still young in their careers too. Like, we talk about Gabe Landeskog, he'll be 32 this year, but like that the way that he plays, like, he's got a lot of years left of him, left in him, assuming he can get back. I think it was Evan Rowell was talking on Twitter about how, like, he kind of plays that Joe Pavelski style that has the real potential to age very well. So yeah, these are guys who have a lot of years left and are determined to get back. And I think that makes a difference too.
Yeah. And, Gabe Landeskog, I would say, plays a little more physical than a Joe Pavelski. So we'll see how that aspect of his game changes, if at all. But I'm sure he's going to want to treat that a little more gingerly. But hey, 3 months behind Lonzo Ball, we should see Gabe Landeskog in full swing in 3 months then, right? At least at
November-ish.
practice.
Yeah. Late October, November, possibly even like rejoining full group activities in red. So we'll keep a very close eye on what's happening with Lonzo Ball. It's funny. A Chicago Bulls player, suddenly a lot of Colorado Avalanche fans are going to have a ton of interest in. And we'll make sure we're following along with everything that's happening with Lonzo.
Yeah.
Just real quick. So you're mentioning, surgery and like shaving down your hip bone. I do think about that every now and then. My wife's in medicine. Hannah's in medicine. And so she always, every now and then I'll look at her phone and she's watching some weird, gross medical stuff where they're, operating on someone or some shit. But like, isn't it, and there's going to be people out there going to think I'm an idiot for even like saying, isn't that crazy? Like, I do think about that every now and then when you see even like very routine surgery. It's like they cut you open and their hands are like rooting around in there. Like, ow.
Yeah.
And I know everyone knows that, but it's just like, it's so funny when you stop and think about it. You hit your shin on that corner right there. Ooh, ow. Ooh, man, that hurt. Yeah. Imagine them slicing your leg open and rearranging all that stuff. It's like, that's crazy that anybody ever does anything after surgery.
Yeah. I've been lucky that I haven't had too many surgeries or injuries. Never broken a bone. Did break my nose and got that repaired.
It's cartilage. It's not a bone.
And when they were in mid-surgery, literally slamming my nose like this because they had to like chisel off part of it.
Yeah.
I woke up.
No!
It was horrible. Like a feeling experience I'll never forget. Them just boom, 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 like ruthless, right? Because you're out. They can be as hard on you as they want.
Could you feel it?
Yeah.
Well, like the pain, or could you just feel
I felt
that
more like
were
the pressure
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
hitting me in the face, and they were like, "Oh, he's waking up," and then they like adjusted the anesthesia, and then I was out again. But like there was a split second where I woke up to traumatizing just getting my nose pounded.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
It was
I've
not
never
great.
known someone that has personally happened to.
Yeah. Not cool.
Wow.
Guess I'm just a heavyweight when it comes to anesthesia. You got to give me a
Can't
lot.
knock me out. Dude, wow. That is well, so one of the things I was gonna say that I've seen, a video Hannah watching for is when they do, surgeries on your knees, knee replacements or whatever. Like they beat the hell out of those things. And so that's crazy. I feel like hearing them say he's waking up would scare me more than anything.
No, it was almost more
Holy
like, "Hey
shit.
guys, I'm waking up." Like,
Fuck, dude, you got any more of
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Damn, dude, that's crazy.
yeah,
You know who John Mulaney is? Comedian?
yeah.
He's got a bit in his latest stand about when he went to rehab and they were trying to sedate him. he was so far needing to go to rehab. He was like, they couldn't take me out. Like they were giving me everything. Damn, dude, that's crazy. That wow, I need a minute to bounce back from that.
Sorry,
That's pretty nuts. No, I'm sorry. That's wild that happened to you.
It was 12 years ago now. So
Man, that's not as long ago as I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Avs decor. You said you had a lot of thoughts on that, and truly the pickup from today is an Eagles signing, and we'll talk about it. But Oliver Shillington is added to this decor. I thought Eric Brandstrom was the competition for Sam Malinsky, give you some depth. They've now added Shillington. Both Oliver Shillington and Eric Brandstrom are looked at as like very high upside guys if you can get it out of them. To me, I've looked at it. I thought Sam Malinsky was like a pretty safe bet to make the team. That now looks like it's in question. Very crowded blue line.
yeah, I agree. It seems like they're not necessarily giving up on Sam Malinsky, but just kicking that can down the road, allowing him a little bit more development. Maybe there are some things here and there that they just didn't like, which was apparent in the way they used him last year, right? I think there were several opportunities to bring Sam Malinsky back, and they didn't.
Yep.
And that kind of caught me off guard at times, but trust the powers that be in this situation. There's something that they aren't fully in love with yet, something he still has to work on, and that's fine. I think the odd man out here, though, is Calvin DeHaan.
Interesting. Okay.
It seems to me, after watching a little bit more and doing some homework on Shillington, doing some homework on Brandstrom, I feel like those two guys are the ones that are going to be the mainstays in the lineup. Calvin DeHaan kind of feels more like what Jack Johnson was supposed to be.
Yes.
And I mean, if you watch them, they kind of have the same skill sets. Calvin DeHaan and Jack Johnson, that is.
Interesting.
So I feel like that's going to be the way they kind of use DeHaan, is as more of the press box guy, while Brandstrom and Shillington are the guys getting more minutes, because I think Brandstrom, I love the way I love his footwork.
Yeah.
He's got very Cale Makar-esque footwork, especially when he's tiptoeing around the blue
Jared
line.
Bednar defenseman for sure.
Yeah. Loves to jump into the play. Same thing with Shillington. Shillington loves to get involved in the offense, has a pretty solid shot. So I see those two being
Ahead of Calvin DeHaan. So we had DNVR's Megan Angley down here on Tuesday. Because I called her to ask her about Shillington. Just, what do you know? Because she had actually, I remembered Megan did a video last season on mental health, and Oliver Shillington had actually left to join the NHLPA program under the umbrella of mental health. So she had talked about him. So I called her and we were going back and forth. So I told her, I said, do you just want to come down to the studio? We've got a late show today, blah, blah, blah. And she said, I don't know, Jesse, do you think that there's maybe a chance here that we're giving Calvin DeHaan like too much credit? We're writing his name too solidly into the lineup. And really that hadn't occurred to me. And now hearing you say that, I don't know. Do you do that as the load management guy? He's injury prone to begin with. So I don't know. Does that make sense that you play him more situationally, DeHaan.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. I mean, the Avalanche for the last couple years, right? It's been their MO to just stock up on bodies. Like, just in case. We never know what's going to happen. We never know who's going to get hurt. We never know who's going to fall into the player assistance program. We need plan B, C, and D.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of what it feels like now that they're still acquiring. At first, it was like, all right, Calvin DeHaan, you can see him getting a few minutes there at the bottom of the lineup. Now I feel like they found a couple guys that can contribute, that they're maybe a little more upside to. We know what Calvin DeHaan is, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's been in the league long enough that there's not going to be any surprises with him. He's going to be the safe play. But with these other two, Brandstrom and Shillington, there seems to be a lot more fit for what the Avalanche like to do.
Totally. And I think you're also spot on with the Calvin DeHaan really kind of being the Jack Johnson replacement. Now what I want to see, because the other thing that I am thinking too as we're talking through this, do you like Calvin DeHaan? If you're the Avs, you want Calvin DeHaan to be part of what you're doing, but is he just too injury prone? I mean, 59 games last year, 53 the year before, 69 the year before that, but then 44, 29, 33 before you get to an 82 game season. So I mean, is that part of it too, where it's like, well, we like this guy, but we don't trust that he's going to be available every night?
Yeah, I mean, they kept Darren Helm for an entire year, who was even in a worse situation than that, right? He barely played anything that last season. So, yeah, I think again, you don't know what's going to happen with Sam Girard. He's sometimes gets hurt, right?
Yep.
I feel like
I'm looking at Manson as well.
Manson, and that's the thing, right? There's a couple things that I saw floated out there. It's like this Shillington signing can either mean somebody's getting traded, somebody's hurt, or they just want to run with this many D. I think it feels like they want to run with this many D.
I mean, they kept Caleb Jones on the roster all season last year, and he hardly played.
We can't forget about Cale Makar, right? He was dealing with something all year long. Is he still dealing with it? Did he get treatment for it and it might show its face again? Where is he at as far as, his health and if he's close to 100%? So there's a lot of question marks, I think, with the existing group. That loading up bodies, I think, is a smart and necessary play right now.
And now here's the other part that I do want to mention with Stan Malinsky. I don't think that this is a guarantee he doesn't make the roster, but I do now think that there are multiple guys he would have to climb over and clearly beat out, which again, like we talked about him all last year. I'm a big believer in Sam Malinsky. I'm with you. I thought there were multiple times last year where I thought, given the way that he performed, I thought Sam Malinsky had maybe, I would have plugged him in there. I am never one. I almost always will lean to the side of, especially with Jared Bednar. Jared Bednar likes predictability. He likes guys who he can trust, who he thinks are, smart, not safe, but smart. I thought, with that, I almost never am in the camp of like, oh, they need to give that guy another look. Oh, they need to give him better minutes. Like, no, this is not a league to develop. You develop to get to the NHL. Sam Malinsky is a guy that I thought jumped in right away, didn't look out of place, contributed. And I thought by the end of the season, by the end of his games, I thought he was relatively trustworthy. It's part of the reason why I've been surprised to see them stack guys seemingly ahead of him. But as a believer in Sam Malinsky, I'm not fully ready to write him out of this conversation yet. I think he could very easily show up to camp and earn a spot, but he has to fully earn it now.
Well, and we also have the entirety of the season for him to progress and jump into a mainstay on the roster, right? I mean, every single year, the opening night roster versus the closing night roster is completely different. So, we could easily see Brandstrom maybe fall out of favor and maybe not catch on as quickly or be as defensively responsible as they need him to be. Shillington, I think that's another guy that can really go either direction, right? I mean, he was playing some top minutes there with Calgary before he stepped away from the game. They tried to get him back in, didn't quite look like himself. So we could see him take a step forward or a step backward. So I think, all those unknowns and question marks just need insurance and they need more security. And I think that's simply what the Avs are doing. But I'm with you. Like I said, Sam Malinsky seemed like a guy that I was expecting to be back in the lineup, see more minutes out of him, especially closer to the playoffs towards the end of the regular season, and we didn't see it. There's something you and I don't know. There's something you and I aren't seeing that Jared Bednar and his coaching staff are seeing, and again, got to trust them because that's why they're paid the big bucks, and you and I are just here on couches talking about it.
Well, and the other thing too, I know the Avs aren't afraid to send guys down to continue development, especially when they are high on a player. There was a lot of pushback last year when they reassigned Justus Annunen and kept Ivan Prosvetov. I was told by someone very, very, very familiar with the situation, yeah, they're doing that because of how much they like Justus Annunen. It's the opposite of what the public perception is. They really like Justus Annunen, and they want to make sure he's playing, getting reps, et cetera, et cetera. We could be looking at a similar thing with Sam Malinsky because, let's just be honest, you're probably hoping to hit on one of Shillington or Brandstrom. I don't think it's reasonably, I don't think you can reasonably set the expectation of both those guys are going to pop for you the way that you want them to. There are two reclamation projects. You assume one of them maybe pans out the way you want it to, or at least close, and the other one doesn't. I can almost maybe look at this by them saying kind of what you alluded to. We want to make sure that Sam Malinsky is ready to come to the NHL and stay. Because again, Jared Bednar has told us before, this is not a developmental league. He does not bring players to the NHL for them to get better. Obviously, he always wants his players getting better, but he's not bringing them there because, they're close. It's no, if you're here, you're in the lineup, it's because you're ready to go and you are an NHLer. So maybe they're looking at it as, we want to make sure that Sam Malinsky has done what we needed him to do over the summer. He's going to come into camp, have a strong camp, push himself, fight to make that roster spot, and then spend all year pushing himself to get there so that at a certain point this year, we can bring him up and know he's up, he's with the team, he's not going back.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I even feel like there were instances last year where Caleb Jones was with the team in practices, in morning skates, and Sam Malinsky would still get called up and
put into the lineup
instead of Caleb Jones.
Yep.
That's exactly to your point, exactly what you're saying. It's not that they don't like Sam Malinsky. They just want to see him getting reps, see him getting better then they can plop him into the lineup. And there were times where I'm like, what? Caleb Jones just gets skipped over? What's up with that?
He's going to be playing top pairing minutes with the Eagles if that's where he ends up. Again, I'm not going to write off the fact that Sam Malinsky couldn't show up and blow everyone's doors off and earn a spot out of camp. I'm not going to say it's impossible. But if he's with the Eagles, that's top pairing minutes, that's top power play, probably some penalty killing reps, and he's probably going to have a letter on his chest and get to be a leader. So again, that's the way that, should it shake out that way, that's how I will be looking at it, is that the Avs really like Sam Malinsky and they want to make sure that when it comes time for him to be in the NHL, he's in the NHL and you're not having to do this back and forth or, he's playing 8 minutes a night, stuff like that. That's a player that I know they're high on, and I would think that they want to be getting him more minutes than that.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun competition to watch, right? I think Malinsky's 26. I think Brandstrom's 25. If not, he's going to be 25 this year. Yep. And Shillington's 27?
27, yeah.
So all right around the same age and very similar skill sets. So I think it's just going to be about who rises to the top, and they'll go with the best player available. But I won't be surprised to see all of them get good minutes with the team this year.
Well, and I hadn't actually thought about what you just said. We're going to have some drama at camp. When was the last time that there was truly spots up for grabs, And yeah, I think we've got 3 guys that are competing for 1.5 spots. I'm going to make Calvin DeHaan the half because I think at best you're probably going to get half a season out of him.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know that the Avalanche love getting offense out of their defensemen. And Brandstrom, Shillington, Malinsky give you more of that possibility than Calvin DeHaan.
And JJ, I think that's a great point for us to not just write off. because I kind of I've been watching all this like, well, man, now they're all fighting for that one spot. Maybe Calvin DeHaan isn't set and forget third pairing. I don't think they're going to send him to the Eagles, but I could see him being a press box guy.
Yep, definitely.
All right. Speaking of the Eagles, Matthew Joseph is signed. Matthew Phillips. Matthew Joseph is another player in the NHL.
Yep.
Matthew Joseph. Oh my God! I just did it again. Matthew Phillips is signed by the Avs. This is likely an AHL pickup, but again, the Avs are adding quality players to the American Hockey League lineup, not just so that there can be quality players to call up, but as we talk about all the time, JJ, that team has to win games too. The Eagles have kind of positioned themselves to be competitive, have another good year, but just quickly on Phillips, bounced around a lot last year. Played 28 games with the Capitals and 3 games with the Penguins before ultimately being sent down to the American Hockey League, where he played 9 games, had 3 goals, 6 points. But his last full AHL season, 66 games played, 36 goals, 76 points. This seems like a potential kind of quadruple A player. Clearly a step ahead of the AHL, not quite and a step behind the NHL. But this is a player that will bolster the American League roster, and in a pinch, should injuries creep up on you, he's an option for the bottom part of your lineup.
Yeah, I think it's more of the Avalanche bringing competition again, right? They don't want to just be like, okay, Jean-Luc Foudy is our one call up every single time we need a call up. They want people to push each other. They want to pick who's playing the best at that time. That's very much a Jared Bednar thing, right? He's not just going to be like, oh, well, Jean-Luc Foudy is the shoe-in for our next call-up. We're going to call him up. No, we've seen him be like, oh, Ben Myers has been playing pretty well. We're going to call him up. Obviously, he's not around anymore. Somebody's got to fill that role.
Yep.
So they want groups of people to be able to fill in these holes, not just one
who it's going to
call
be.
Up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is, at least the way it stands right now, there is a little bit of that same kind of spots up for grabs on the fourth line. I do think that the Avs are, unless we get clarity on Valeri Nichushkin's situation between now and mid-September, late September, I think the Avs are planning for the very realistic scenario where you end up with both Gabe Landeskog and Valeri Nichushkin back on your roster by January, February. I don't think that is at all out of the realm of possibility. And I think you've got to be prepared for that, and you've got to have roster spots, and you've got to have salary cap available. So I think this is another guy. Competition's a great word. Very Rocco Grimaldi-esque is Matthew Phillips, 26 years old.
He's a little
5'8". He is my height. 5'8", going a $160. So smaller player.
Yep.
Again, Rocco Grimaldi, I do think, is the ultimate example of the quadruple A hockey player. Unbelievably skilled, very talented player, dominates the AHL, just too small to play in the NHL.
I think what's nice is you get the same player out of a player like that, both in the AHL and the NHL. I always bring up Riley Tufte because, I liked him last year, but he was 2 completely different players. It's one in the AHL, one in the NHL. I think with a guy that plays,
I think AJ Greer as well with that. I think he was the best example of being 2 different
100%, 100%. I think this guy plays the same no matter what league he's in. He's out to prove something, chip on his shoulder. I'm not that little, guys.
The way you said that made him sound pretty small. I'm not that little, guys.
Yeah, so I like it.
Again, like you said, I used to talk about this with Rocco Grimaldi. I don't know if people fully appreciate how good you have to be to even be at this level and be that size.
Right.
You have to have a real toolkit and
real big bag of knuckles. Is what I like to say.
Yeah. Got a big old brass set to be able to play, to even get games in the NHL being that size. So I'm with you. I think this is a competition move for the bottom of the lineup, and it's an option for a call-up.
Yep. Thanks for being with me.
Jean-Luc Foudy, though, he is my one, and I talked about this with Megan on Tuesday. He is the one guy that I do think I want to see him make a push for the roster in camp. Whether he makes it or not, I want to see him take a step. And like, it would just be huge for the Avs to be able to graduate a player like that to the NHL.
Agreed.
That would be huge for salary cap and just the ongoing narrative of the Avs can't develop players. If you could get a legitimate player out of Jean-Luc Foudy in the NHL, even a third line, if you get a Logan O'Connor-esque version of Jean-Luc Foudy in the NHL, I think you're just over the moon with that. And I'd love to see him push for it.
Yeah, I think that's a good parallel to draw is Logan O'Connor, right? He showed up and made it impossible for them to send him back down. And there's going to be runway here. Valeri Nichushkin, Gabe Landeskog, until they get back, there's going to be opportunity for somebody who's going to step up and grab that opportunity by the horns and really make it impossible for them to send him down. And if any year he's going to prove himself, this is the year. So,
and he's got that, because you have Oscar Olausson too, but he really is like a very pure player, skill. The shot is great. But Jean-Luc Foudy, he's a guy that he's a little bit smaller, but he can be a pest and he'll go to the front of the net. He's got enough scoring touch that he can contribute. He does seem to play with that not afraid mentality. And I think for where there's going to be openings in the lineup, that's what Jared Bednar is going to want.
Mm-hmm.
And, they gave him a quick look right at the end of the season last year. And CMAC listed him by name in that season-ending presser of guys that he thought could take the next step. He said Malinsky, and he said Foudy. So I want to see what he does coming into camp, because I don't think anything about the bottom six for the Avs is written in pen.
Yep. And every year there's a guy that gets sent down, doesn't make the opening night roster that you're like, I thought he was going to make it this year. So, a lot of opportunity for a lot of young guys and guys trying to fill those roles.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Anything else that's happened over the last couple of weeks, the Avs, that you were wanting to get into? I'm going to check my notes to make sure there's nothing I'm missing.
No, I think the big conversation this week was around the defense and the crowd that they're starting to acquire there.
Yep.
We've seen the crowd with the goaltending situation, right? And now we're looking at real depth of the depth. So again, there seems to be some consistency from the Avalanche of let's just get as many bodies as we can in here and we'll see who rises to the top.
It felt like that's what they started doing at the deadline, right? Just like, how many can we fit?
Mm-hmm.
How many people can we cram into this clown car? and they're running that back. Let me ask you real quick. Again, I talked about this after the part 4 of the Valeri Nichushkin interview came out.
Mm-hmm.
Now saying that a lot of the player assistance program stuff was for sleep and all that stuff. We don't need to get into all that unless you have a lot of hard thoughts on it. But SKA St. Petersburg's head coach also confirmed that he has had conversations with Valeri Nichushkin, and he did say that the SKA St. Petersburg coach outright said he told me his preference is to play in the NHL with the Avalanche. But that now makes 2 KHL teams that we know have spoken to Valeri Nichushkin, SKA St. Petersburg and CSKA Moscow. I don't know, man. I still, if I'm betting, I'm still putting money on he asked to terminate the deal and stays in Russia and plays in the KHL. I just think it's going to be less drama, easier for him. And now there's multiple teams saying, come on, just stay here, stay home. What do you think?
I mean, based off that last interview where he said that him and Landeskog and was it Rantanen and Makar, they all live right within each other, right? We've talked so many times over the years how Val feels like he's found some sense of happiness here in Denver.
Yep.
And I think we can't overlook that or can't underrate that. I don't think we necessarily get that vibe because our interactions with him are extremely limited, which makes you feel like, oh, he hates us. He hates it here. He hates everything about Russia, the NHL. Yeah. But I think there's something to that. There's something that he really likes about it. I mean, he's got a cool life here. He chills down in Cherry Creek, I know, a lot. Hangs out at the mall, that area, a lot.
North,
He enjoys his lifestyle here. That I don't know if he necessarily. I mean, I don't know enough about Russia to really comment on it, but it isn't going to be the same there,
right?
Right. So I think we need to consider that he values Denver more than we think.
Yeah. No, and look, I don't think it's, when I say I'm putting my money on that, it's like 55% to 45%. Like I don't feel super strongly about that. I just look at the landscape ahead for him, the microscope that he's going to be under.
Mm-hmm.
And like, look, dude, he has to face it now. He has to.
Yeah.
There's no more hiding from it. I don't think people are just going to let it quietly go away. Not only because of what happened, but now because of these interviews that have come out, that I'd be willing to bet Val Nichushkin is way less happy about now than when he agreed to do them at the time.
I'm sure the Avs are too. I bet you know, all our friends in the PR office there are just like, why did we let this guy come and do all these interviews? What were we thinking?
Dude. And I'll bet you, like, the front office has to be fuming.
Mm-hmm.
Just furious every day, because he's coming out and saying stuff that only goes against what the official story that has been put out by the Avs has been. It's like exclusively in contradiction to everything that they've said.
Yeah, it feels this way. I'm not saying this is what's going on, but it feels like Val's saying like, oh, well, these interviews are in Russian. They'll never know what's going to be said here. I can say whatever I want.
Well, and I think he also thought, because all these interviews took place before the most recent event.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was probably like, it's all blown over by now. No one's going to check into this stuff. I thought it was weird from the get-go for him to say that the Seattle thing, he was leaving anyways because of an injury. It's like, that's a pretty well-documented situation.
Yeah.
Like, I would have maybe just like tiptoed around that one.
He's like, oh, well, if this Russian interview is going back to Russia, they're not going to look into any of the facts that, you know, the people in America know and understand. So they can't read English.
And it's just gone, like, these interviews now coming out have gone like as bad as they could have gone for Val and the Avs in terms of what's being said. I guess maybe not as bad as it could have gone, but just in terms of what we heard from CMAC versus what we're now hearing from Val, you can't hide from it anymore. And I just sit there and wonder if Val Nichushkin is going to just say, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, that'd be the easy thing. Right?
I don't want to put my family through this. I don't want to put myself through this. Because yeah, you can't do what we all let him get away with last year. Guys, we said it was personal and I want to move on. And I know people will probably criticize me for saying this, and I know criticized us at the time for not pressing the issue further, but I actually really respected what Denver media did. We asked, I think it was 3 or 4 questions where we pushed on it. And by the 4th time when he said, guys, you know, it was personal and I really would just like to move on and focus on the future, everybody respected that and said, you know what? We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt that it was a bad day. You had a really bad day and you went through a really bad personal moment, and we're not going to make you relive that. So we're going to move on. And everyone kind of agreed to do that. We didn't talk to him throughout the rest of the year, and we all respected it. No one pushed. I don't think anyone was mad that we hadn't heard from him. He declined to talk several times, which is fine. Nobody said anything bad about it. You cannot get away with that again this time. 3 times in 13 months, plus all of these interviews where he's come out and said stuff that has gone against the official message. It's going to be some PR gymnastics, or it is going to take just very honest dialogue from Val Nichushkin.
I think for Val, the main motive has to be, I owe it to my teammates.
Yes.
I owe it to my teammates to come back and give it a legit shot and clean this shit up and not let them down, because they're the ones that are more affected by this than anybody. Yeah.
Well, and you know, the one part that I think in addition to what you're saying, he's got to own up to it. And again, he doesn't have to come right out and say what exactly he's been going through, but he needs to come out and say, I made mistakes. I've paid for it. I've learned my lesson. And he's got to find a way to show the team and the players that he's sincere in that message.
Yeah, behind closed doors.
Right.
Yeah,
Not to us. He
yeah.
doesn't owe us that, but he owes the team and the organization that. To say, I let you guys down, and I went through everything with the program, and I came back here to show you guys that I messed up, and I'm here to make it right.
Yeah, he needs to get a boombox and hang out some of the players' window. And
he needs to go to all 20 players' houses individually and boombox outside the window.
I'm trying to think of the perfect song he could play, like a "Take Me Back," "I Love You," "I'm Sorry,"
"Careless Whisper," maybe.
I don't know.
I'm never gonna dance again. You know what? He needs to play "Careless Whisper" outside of every Avs player's house, and he needs to camp outside of C-Mac's house for 24 hours doing it to show how sad he is. No, obviously I'm joking with that. Not about "Careless Whisper." He should play that for the team, but yeah, I'm with you. I think he's got to get out in front of it. He's got to own up to it. And then I do think he doesn't owe the media anything, but I do think he owes the Avs fan base a little bit of that as well, because they vehemently defended him, went to bat for him, supported him, welcomed him back with open arms, I believe was the phrase. I think he owes the team and the organization first and foremost, what we were saying, then the fan base. And then I do think he needs to address it with the media after these interviews.
I'm not going to count on those so much just because we know how he is. He's probably like, I don't want to talk to the media. I don't want him to speak English.
But I think he has to, though. I think he has to. I think he got to get away with it twice. He's the second player ever to get to phase 3 of the player assistance program. He's one slip up away from an automatic 1-year suspension, potentially with no reinstatement. And the Avs came out, said, here's what happened. And now 4 interviews of his have come out where he said not the opposite, but that isn't
a different
the case.
Story.
Right.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't want to. I know it's probably a great, and this is part of the reason why I think genuinely, dude, I think this part of it could lead to him staying in Russia. I do not think media, forget local media, national media, they're not going to let this go.
Yeah. I mean, we're too nice about everything, right? The local media here. We'll go in there. He'll be like, yeah, I messed up. That's all I want to say. We'll be like, okay. And Brendan will be in the back like, hey, no more questions on that, guys. Questions only about
and dude, whatever. I think about Brendan and how frustrated he probably is.
Yeah.
Like I think about him and Jared in the Seattle playoff run. Like they fell on that grenade every day for 3 weeks. And Brendan had to deal with us coming up to him every day for 3 weeks. What's going on? What's happening? What's going on? And they like I said, they fell on that grenade for him. And then the minute they stand up, he pulls the pin on it. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I think about Brendan frequently. I think everyone's pissed.
Yeah. There's the obvious hurdle of the language barrier.
Yep.
And I think even if Val was to stand up and say some things, he's not going to be able to fully express himself. He's not going to be able to fully say what he means. So it's going to be a very vanilla, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. I think he needs
this.
to try, though. I think he needs to try. We got a couple of comments. Can we pull those up, Jay? First one here. Yeah, do the first one. How much of the interview is what it is because it was meant to be seen in Russia and they aren't exactly open to drug addiction? I think that's a different side of what you're saying. Yeah. Where, not only is he trying to not fully embrace the story, but also trying to not put all of that out back home.
Right. He's really trying to protect his brand and his image in Russia so that he doesn't come back and they're like, this guy's a druggie.
Right. So no, I think that's a great point. And then can you pull the next one up as well? I feel like he owes an admission to the fans who support the team to own up to his mistakes. I agree. I don't think he needs to come out and say, this is what this is what happened. This is what I did. But I do think he needs to come out and say, thank you guys. You guys have my back every night. You chant for me every night in this building. I messed up and I let you guys down.
Yep.
I apologize. It's not going to happen again. And he can leave it at that. And I think that's all he needs to say to the fans. But I do think I think it's a team, the organization, the fans, and then us, and then the media. I don't think he really owes the media shit, but I do think that it is like I don't think he can hide from it with the media the way they did last year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he'll try.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't, I don't think anybody's going to be too rattled about it. Because again,
I'm thinking national media, like even expand beyond us. And especially if he starts going long enough without talking about it, someone's going to say something. And I also imagine, I don't know if the organization's going to let him do that this time. Took a drink of water trying to get rid of this spot in my throat that I'm battling through right now. So, that's the other thing with all this is we just don't fully know where all those relationships stand with him and the organization. Like, how does everyone personally feel about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's part of me that thinks PR isn't going to shelter him this year. They can be like, nope, go ahead. You sure had a lot to say in that interview with your buddy.
Yeah. I could see that, but I also, again, the language barrier is just a crutch that he can always lean on. Just be like, oh, I only can say this, and the rest, I'm not even good at expressing myself. Not good enough at English to be able to say what I really want to say, so I'm just going to say this bare minimum. But yeah, I'm with you. It's on the road where I think that's going to be tougher for him, right?
Yes. Yep.
Suddenly he sees Ryan Clark stomping in there. He's going to be like, oh, shoot.
Yep.
It's Emily Kaplan. They're going to want to talk to me.
And Val, the offer is always open. Come sit right here with Mark.
Yeah.
Let's do these cards.
That'd be smart of him. Yep. 3 of 4 of our 4-part series.
Oh, there you go.
Of my old cards. This one is in a special binder because it's my favorite cards when I was in 6th to 8th grade.
I'm dying to know what you have written on the spine of that. You can show me later, but
it's a Linkin Park lyric.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that was better than I expected.
So obviously gonna go just showing my Avs cards here. Finally, we can actually zoom in on these and you can actually see them. Let's go, Jay. Boom. Look at all these Patty Wa's. Because, of course, Patrick Waugh was royalty in these times.
Sure was.
You got a little Jeff Odgers, Sandis Ojolins, Chris Drury, Valeri Kaminsky, Theo Fleury, plus this sweet Theo Fleury card. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the shape of a crown. It's not the shape of a card. Peter Forsberg, Greg DeVries, Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg, Sylvain Lefebvre. I got this sweet Adam Foote in a Nordiques jersey. Big fan of that one. Also got a Scott Young in a Nordiques jersey. Not as cool, but kind of cool, right?
Still cool.
Yeah. So just I love. It feels like show and tell, right? When I've been bringing in my cards, I'm like, hey, these are the cards I've just been hoarding in a closet for the last 20 years. So it's fun to actually whip them out. When I pulled them out just now, you're like, oh, I want to see those. I was like, I want to see them too, because it's not like I sit here and look at them very often or very frequently. So it's cool to see the cards I collected. A couple Chris Drury's. Obviously, I was a big Chris Drury fan. I feel like a lot of us were, right?
Yeah,
especially at that age.
That was
came in, won the Calder.
That still goes down, I think, as one of their all-time, like, ooh, shouldn't have made that trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Another Chris Drury, these cool signatures. A prospect card, Serge Aubin. Prospect card, Ville Nieminen. I loved Ville Nieminen because no matter what happened on the ice, he always had a smile on his face. He would get punched in the face in a scrum around the net. He'd just be smiling about it. That's a vivid memory I have of Ville Nieminen. Just a couple. Adam Deadmarsh is fun. More Chris Drury. A Ray Bourque. This one's weird because he's not in a jersey, and you can tell, I think he's still even with the Boston Bruins at the time of this picture, but it's like a scrum.
I remember
scrum, right? There's microphones, and he's not wearing a jersey. He's just in his under gear. Martin Skula, Chris Drury, some more. And then you get on to my New Jersey Devils page. The only other one I really want to point to, this is this was my first card. This is a Claude Lemieux. It's sideways. I don't know why they make sideways cards ever.
Drives me nuts.
But Claude Lemieux in the New Jersey Devils wearing that bobblehead Jofa. fun stuff looking back at these old cards.
I think those are great. Those cards brought back a lot of childhood memories for me. Do I go first?
I'll go first because you got
first?
the cooler packet.
Okay, all right. New pack, summer card pack opening season series extravaganza continues.
2022-23 Young Guns pack.
Looking for some young guns.
Not so young of a gun, but TJ Oshie.
Love me some TJ Oshie. There it is.
Wait for you to get in on that.
That's a nice punch in right there.
Justin Falk.
With the Blues.
Alex Wenberg.
Come on, give us a good one.
Ooh, this one looks fun. Rasmus Dahlin.
Ooh, all right.
Defense mechanism. It's got craziness
shine
to
to
it.
it.
And like,
Love that.
His picture's on there like 8 times if you can see it. Yeah, that's the best.
Oh, is that him repeated?
Yeah.
I thought that was a pattern. Sick. Way sick.
That's front runner for card of the day.
Good one, yeah.
Barrett Hayton, Arizona Coyotes. Vintage Arizona Coyotes.
Vintage
card.
Arizona Coyotes.
Warren Fogle. Mr. Svechnikov.
Andre?
Yep.
All right.
And Jesper Bratt.
He was barreling towards free agency, and I thought the Avs would have a chance. Got re-signed a couple seasons ago. Great pull on the Dahlin. All right, I am going with the Metal Universe pack. We still have a few of these, but we've been going with these ones all summer. Dude, this has been my favorite part of these summer shows, truthfully. Got a bad tear on this one. All right. Wow, already Hurricanes heavy. Seth Jarvis in the this is one of those ones we were talking about earlier. For just a couple games this year, they wore black pants instead of the red with their white jerseys. And I noticed it actually in a photo on Twitter, and I ended up doing like way down a rabbit hole on why they looked so different. So that's kind of a cool one to get. A little bit of a mismatch. Pour one out. Logan Thompson with the Vegas Golden Knights. Traded at the draft and then
that was funny.
Did an autograph signing at the draft.
We saw him like 2 or 3 times that weekend that we were there, and there was even a casino where it was like, "Hey, come to the after draft party with Logan Thompson."
Vegas Golden Knights goaltender Logan Thompson traded. This is a special one. I can like barely even read it. Noah Cates, Philadelphia Flyers. Dylan Sandberg rookie card. Hey, Andrei Svechnikov. Stars, like it's labeled that he's a star player. Andrei Svechnikov. David Perron with the Red Wings. And then Brent Burns in the regular Carolina Hurricanes road setup with white gloves and white pants.
Interesting. So Carolina, the team of the day.
Team of the day, Carolina for sure. Right here's the difference in the black pants versus red pants. They normally wear the red pants.
Why did they do that? Did they just forget?
Don't know. I haven't figured it out yet, but they only played a couple games where they wore black pants, black gloves.
The poor equipment manager was like, "Oh shoot,
yeah,
so I forgot the bag of the red breezers."
There you go. Rasmus Dahlin, easily the pull of the day.
Interesting. I definitely thought it would come out of your pack.
Me
but
too.
No.
But hey, that's why we open them, right? That's why we open them. Thanks, Jay. I think that's pretty much it.
Yep, that's it for today.
Got anything else?
No. Oh, we're already touching up on an hour here. So,
yep. So, are we really?
Yeah.
Wow. I love it. Well, I was scrolling through to see if there's anything last second new before we jump off, and all it is Evan Rowell back at it, tweeting KHL highlights, baby. And I love it. He's got a
full swing. Go Evan Rowell.
A Guyev highlight out. I love it. Thanks so much, guys. Been mentioning it all week. Across the entire company, we got a bunch of really exciting, fun new developments coming as we get closer and closer to the start of football, hockey, and basketball season. We still got one more show today. Nate Jackson and Brandon Cristal are coming from Dove Valley to talk about everything before the first Broncos preseason game this Sunday. We are meeting here in the next week or two to start drawing up our full in-season content plan for Avs. We've got a meeting for that for Broncos. And so, yeah, we're going to have all kinds of stuff officially coming your way very, very soon. And I'm really looking forward to all of it, JJ. Any final thoughts?
No, we're inching towards the fall. And the fall is where everything really starts going, right?
That's
I mean,
where
kids
it
are back in
starts.
school.
Crazy, dude.
I don't know why they do
Crazy. I knew it because Evan posted a picture of his daughter, like first day of class. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's August 7th. What are you
that.
talking
I
about?
could remember it being like the 20th of that when I would return to school, right?
I'm pretty sure it was September when I would go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. Jay's back there running the board. Got Chloe back there with him hanging out. That's JJ Jerez. I'm Jesse Montaño. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. And we'll talk to you on Monday. Have a good one.